So we're trying to differentiate between the percentage of women who smoke versus the percentage of smokers who are women. First one is out of all women, the second one is out of all smokers. So to figure these out, we need to know how many women there are, how many smokers there are, and how many women smoke. And when we turn the page, we get this information right here. So let's mess around with it. Okay, so, well, we have women smokers and women non-smokers. So together, this gives us all of the women. So we can whip out a calculator and add those up. So if you haven't already, whip out a calculator and add up some numbers. We want the percentage of women who smoke. So I need to know how many women there are total. And then my calculation is going to be something like women smokers divided by women. Hey. 5362 plus 12,736. I'm getting up to a total of 18,098 women. Anyone else get that too? 18,098 women. So the women smokers, there are 5,362 of them out of 18,000 women. So this should lead to the percentage I want. Give that calculation a try. I want to take 5,362 women smokers and divide by the 18,098 women. And that's going to give me a decimal version. How many decimals should I take there? 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I get 2963. That's about 0.2963. We want it as a percentage to the nearest tenth of a percent. So remember, to convert that to a percentage, we've got to multiply by 100%. Oops, stop it. And that's going to shift the decimal point and give me 0.29. Oh, no. Decimal point, Gary. 29 point. And nearest, 1%, not tenth of a percent. Okay. What's the nearest whole percent here? 30%. It's the nearest 1%. 6/10 rounds the 9 up to a 10, bumping the 20 up to a 30. So it's about 30% of the women here smoke. All right, next one wants to find out what is the percentage of smokers at Midland University who are women. So there we've got to focus on just the smokers. So we got to figure out how many total smokers there are. So we want to know of the women smokers, sorry, of all the smokers, what percent are women? We need this calculation for the next part. So we know there's 5,362 women smokers. How many smokers are there? Let's see, I think I can do this one here. 2 plus 2 is 4. 1670 is 130. Carry the 1. 5, 6, 3 is 9. 5, 4 is 9. 9,934. Anyone else get that?
Yeah.
Okay. And we want to divide those two. Yeah. More than half of the smokers are women, it looks like, right? So I'm getting about 53976, blah, blah, blah. Now we want the nearest whole percent, multiplying that by 100, 54%. Sound right? That is about, again, my calculator said 0.54-ish. Multiply that by 100% to make a percentage, which gives me about 54%. All right, so about 54% of smokers are women. So I'm just basically restating the question with the percent we calculated as a statement. So back on that first page when we were asked to guess like which of these percentages might be greater, I was thinking in general there's going to be more women than there are smokers based on my experience around the world. So I thought the percent of women who smoke would be the smaller percentage. Right, so I got lucky there. However, I have noticed that it seems to be more people that are smoking lately. Like when I was out and about this summer, I saw a lot more people than I usually see smoking. So I could have been wrong. I got lucky in my guess on part one. Questions about these calculations here? Right, so here's the deal, right? It's the same group of women we're talking about. Right, these 5,362 women, but when we compare them to all women versus all smokers, we get slightly different percentages. And this is common. It happens all the time. Different comparisons lead to different percents, even for the same group. All right, next question's a bit harder. Next question, we want to figure out how many women would need to stop smoking for the percentage of women who smoke to drop below 20%. How many women would need to stop smoking? Okay, so we got to mess around with that. Go to a new page, and then we're going to play with this on a spreadsheet next. Repeat what we just did. Full question, please. All right, how many women would need to stop smoking for the percentage of women who smoke to drop below 20%? Okay, so right now the percentage of women who smoke is about 30%. All right. And how do we find that again? We took that 5,000, was it 362? Somebody help me because I can't see the screen. Numbers divided by, was that the 18,000?
Yeah.
18,098. Okay, and that came out to be about 30%. And what we're being asked here is we want to convince a bunch of women to quit smoking. So that number is going to change so that this number here becomes about 20%. So a couple of ways to think about it. To get from 30% to 20%, aren't I dropping by a third? Right? So that means I would need about a third of these women to stop smoking. Would be one way to think about it. So again, my guess, this right here, 30 to 20, is a drop by 1/3. How did I get 1/3? Well, it's a drop of 10%. 10 out of 30 is 1 out of 3. So that means I want up to 5,362. I want that. I don't know. I want to know what's a third of that to quit smoking. So of that, 1/3 should quit smoking. Okay, let's calculate that, see if it works. Smoking. Calculate these. All right, so on the calculator, figure that out. I want to know what is 1/3 times 5,362, and I get about, let's call it about 1,800, roughly. And then let's check to see if that works. So back to my notes. Okay, so about 1,800 women should quit. All right, so let's check the percentage. So if 1,800 quit, then I need to know what is 5,362 minus 1,800. That's going to give me a 2, a 6, and then 25. That looks about right. So if there's still 2,562 women who smoke, what is that out of that 1,898 women? And I'm hoping it's about 20%. Question mark, I don't know. So I want 5,362 minus 1,800. Make sure I did that right. Yeah. Oh, 3,562. Messed that up. 3,562. And what happens if I divide that by the 18,098 women? That's pretty close to 20%. So that is about 20%. So we did a little bit of algebra last week, so I want to approach this a slightly different way. So algebra. Check this out, alternate way of looking at it. Copy some of this. That much enough. So another way to think about it, right? We want some women to quit smoking, so we could just get rid of that number and put a question mark there. How many out of 18,098 will give us 20%? And to solve for the missing question mark here, to get rid of a division, remember, to get rid of a multiplication, we divide. So to get rid of a division, we would multiply. So we could multiply both sides by 18,098. Calculator, what is that number right there? 20% of 18, oops, I missed the 0 there. 18,008. That is about 3,620. So if I take 3,620, divide by that, I'm going to get about 20%. That's what this is telling me right here. Okay. So what's the decrease then? How many quit? These are the smokers. The ones who quit would be from the original 5,362, take away 3,620. I can do that by hand. 2 minus 0 is 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. 36 to 53, that would be 13, and 4 is 17. About 1,700 need to quit. Is that similar to the answer we found before? Yeah, we said 1,800 the first time as a guess. This time I think it's around 1,700. So there's a couple of different ways to guess at that. by playing around. We could use a little algebra, or the previous one was, we guessed that it was a 1/3 decrease. Yeah.